Oh my God, guys, Richard Branson has just stepped me through the 5 steps to build any business. So Richard Branson is the billionaire founder of Virgin Group, one of the most recognizable and diverse brands in the world. From telecommunications to transport, Richard has done it all and taken plenty of risks along the way, building more than 40 companies in over 35 countries globally. So the 5 steps that we discussed are identifying a problem, getting revenue in advance, working with the right people who believe in you, the importance of building a brand, and learning to take risk. Guys, you're not going to want to miss this one. So people are always asking me how to start a business. If you were starting a business again today, what steps would you take? What things would you do?
I would wait until I saw something that frustrated me, and then jump in and try to correct it and do it better than it's being done, or do it from scratch. And that's basically what a business is. It's just creating something that makes a positive difference to other people's lives. Yeah, and that's how I've said about it at Virgin. I've never really thought of myself as being a businessman. I just look at, I hated flying on other people's airlines, so I started an airline. I wanted to get a piece of music out, and the record companies wouldn't put it out, so I started a record company. So just trying to do something for that sort of reason is often, I think, the best way of creating a business.
I was personally 15 years old when I first found out about you and listened to your journey of starting these incredible businesses. When I was younger, I always wondered, what are the first few steps do you think? Okay, you've identified a problem, which I think is brilliant. I, by the way, think that's the way they should reframe school. It shouldn't be what will you do when you grow up, but what problem do you want to solve in the world? That should be reframed, I think. But to people listening, they maybe don't have the resources to start. What do you think are the ways that you can get a business going if you're, say, short on resource?
Well, when I started my first business, I didn't have any money, so I had to sell advertising in advance for the magazine that I put out. So then when I started a mail order record company, I would get the money in, and then I'd go and buy the records, and then I'd send them out to people. So it's not easy, but sometimes you can actually start a business getting the cash up front, and then pay the bills with that cash.
There's 5 steps, I think, to start a business. So the first, I really believe what you just said is so true. Like, identify a problem that causes you pain and then try to solve that problem. The second one is, and I think this is really interesting, get revenue ahead of time. So I used to charge 50% deposit before I did the work for the client. I had a service business. That's how I started. I did a gardening company, and I charged 50% in advance, and that paid for me to do the work. Yeah. And then the other 50% was my profit. So that kind of cash flow management side. Do you think the third step, do you see in your path?
Then just you find people that believe in your idea and come, who are as excited about what you're doing. And if you've got a good small team, it could maybe just 2 or 3 of you, then anything's possible. I mean, it's, so I think surrounding yourself with the right people is key.
Do you remember your first employee, first person you convinced?
A guy called Johnny Holland Gems, who was I was 15, he was 15 at school, and he wasn't as dyslexic as me. And if you're going to start a magazine, you need somebody who can actually write.
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing. You're dyslexic, you start a magazine, people don't always connect the dots. You need great people to come in and help you do these visionary things, right?
I think dyslexic people are brilliant in some ways, but they've obviously got some issues, and those issues was why I left school early and started started creating things rather than learning conventional schooling, which was doing nothing for me, to be honest.
My third step was get a co-founder. I didn't feel confident enough to hire someone at the beginning, so I got someone to come in and have equity with me. Yeah. And every business I've ever started had a co-founder. I've enjoyed it more. It's been more successful. Yeah. So personally, I've really enjoyed that. But I think the first employee also brings you some discipline, right? Because then you can't just not do it now if you brought someone in, right?
Yeah, I think having partners is great, and making a real effort to get on with your partners, and like a marriage, there's going to be lots of give and take, but you may have to give a bit more than you take in order to make the partnership work.
Yeah, I actually use a slogan, we should move away from give and take to give without take. If you help someone be successful without any expectation of anything in return, it comes back to you like karma,
yeah,
right?
Of course.
Do you think there's a fourth step that jumps in your mind that's I mean, I build a brand, for example, not a business, is something I really believe in, and I think I've got that from you. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, marketing your brand is important. I mean, I had to, how did I get one plane airline to be as well known as British Airways? I had to stick my neck out and jump on boats and balloons and things to get it on the map. Nowadays, you've got the internet, so there are other ways of marketing things. But in those days, we had to try to get on the front page of the newspapers and not be a little cornerstone in the back.
And I take risk would probably be my fifth, like learn to love risk. It's something, again, I think I've learned from you, but risk taking, how do you build up that risk muscle? How do you get comfortable with risk?
I think it's taking risk but protecting the downside. So every move you make, you must be sure that if it goes wrong, it's not going to bring out the whole pack of cards crashing down. And just occasionally, you might stick your neck out and take a risk that will bring the whole pack of cards down because it's the upside is really worthwhile. But by and large, protecting the downside is critical. So, in my own life, I've had to protect the downside when I do my adventuring, which is my life is on the line, and then protecting the downside in business to make sure that nearly 60 years later we're still Virgin Atlantic's still going strong and the other companies are still going strong.
What do you think the biggest risk is you've ever taken in your career?
Oh, I think trying to fly around the world in a hot air balloon was maybe the biggest risk.
I remember that like that was yesterday. No, I really remember that like it was. How long ago was that?
That was in the 90s, yeah.
So I was leaving school at the time. Maybe that's why it's stuck in my mind so much. That's such a crazy moment. Yeah. If you went back to your 20-year-old self and gave some advice, anything you'd say?
Don't change a thing. No, I've had an absolute blast, and an element of there has to be an element of good luck in building businesses, and a lot of really real hard work, and you really have got to throw yourself in day and night, to be successful. But you can find time to party as well.
I think you personify this concept, I think, of just enjoying your work, and then you don't mind throwing yourself into it. I think that's a lot. Work's become slightly a negative word sometimes for some people.
I've never ever seen what I do as work. I just enjoy creating things, and I create things with the groups of other people. And if I've created something I'm proud of, that I get a real kick from it.
I just want to say for the record, you've been an inspiration to me since I was 15 years old. I wouldn't be here where I am today without you.
Thank you very much.